Hey everybody, Phil here, and welcome to another Crypto Chat with Phil. In recent days, the script I wrote for claiming hot tokens on the Near Protocol blockchain has become increasingly popular as more and more users join the game. According to their socials, almost 5 million people are playing now, and the game's only been running for a few months. I've already made two videos on how to claim hot tokens using the script, so if you've not seen those yet, check out the rest of my channel. But today, we're going to focus on the aspect of setting up the claiming process using a Windows machine. I've not done this myself yet, so let's work along together and see what's involved. So first things first, I typed store into the search box down by the Windows key and opened the Microsoft Store. Now I'm going to search for Ubuntu in the store. So we have a few options here. Ubuntu 22.04.3. That looks a good option. Okay, and let's click Get. This is going to install Ubuntu as part of our Windows machine. It's going to take a few minutes to download, so let's check back. Now that we completed step 1 and we have our Ubuntu installed from the Microsoft Store, let's drop into my GitHub and get a few commands that we're going to need for the next stages. The first one is to ensure WSL2 is correctly installed, so we're going to copy that and paste it into PowerShell. To launch PowerShell, I just came down to the search bar and typed PowerShell. However, because we're going to use a DISM command to activate a Windows feature, we need to run that as administrator. So if we come over to the PowerShell window, copy and paste our command, it should now enable that feature. Now that we have the confirmation message that the feature installed correctly, we can go back to GitHub, copy the second command, and this ensures that WSL always uses default version 2. Okay, that's complete. So now let's open Ubuntu by searching for Ubuntu in the Start window and opening that. While it may not look very impressive, we now have a fully functioning version of Ubuntu within our Windows installation. If we take the last set of keys from the Windows startup page, which is super user update and upgrade, let's post those in there and we can see that Ubuntu is now doing its stuff. We're going to select yes and update our software before we use it for the first time. As the software's updating, I'm going to go back to the top of the GitHub article and copy and paste some commands. These are the quick start commands. I understand that some people are going to want to manually do these steps so they can be double shot as to what we're installing. So as we talk about in our other videos, key things to note here is that we have Python installed 3.10 and CodeDriver 1.1.4. Now we can grab some of these quick start commands and paste those into our Linux too. So the first one is to start a screen session with the name first session. Then we can get Python 3.claim. Okay, so shall we update the settings first time around? Yes, let's do that. So shall we force a claim on the first run? No. Shall we enable debugging? Let's turn that on. Shall we hide our sensitive input? Yes. Shall we allow logging in by QR code, or should we use a one-time password? True. The maximum number of concurrent sessions, well, this is quite a powerful machine, so I'm going to change that to 2, and we could easily make that 4 or 6. And what level of debugging information do we want? Let's make that 2 as well. And do we want to force login of a previous session? Well, no, because this is the first time we're setting it up. Before we proceed to the next step, I've dragged the Windows Explorer onto the screen. We now have a new tab called Linux, and when we open that, we can see the Linux file system. I'm going to select the root file because that's where we currently are, and Hot Wallet Bot. Here now you can see the script that we've just run, the variables that we've just saved, and we can see some session folders. At the minute, there's nothing in the session folder or the screenshots folder. However, we're about to create a QR code for logging in, and that's going to appear here. For day-to-day use, I call my folders by a meaningful name to make it easy to recognize my different accounts. However, for the sake of the tutorial, I'll stick to the default numbers as listed in the GitHub. I've also prepared my mobile phone open at the QR code scanner page in the Telegram app, ready for trying the QR code. If we go back to the Ubuntu console, press enter. Okay, it's going to create a screenshot in a folder called 1. So let's open up that initial screenshot, capture it with my cell phone, come back and press enter. Okay, it's checking if we need the two-factor authentication, which we don't. Now it's asking to submit our 12-word seed phrase, which I've already copied and just pasted into there. It may take a few seconds as it moves through the screen, waiting at each stage for it to be confirmed that we're at the correct stage of the process. Okay. At this point, we could actually come out of this session by entering N and later resume it, or resume it in PM2, which we're going to do in a bit. However, for now, I'm going to continue with the default of pressing yes, just to see the first setup. As it works through these initial stages, it goes through the steps that would be required to make a claim. However, I suspect that this wallet is not yet full, so it's probably not going to proceed right the way through to do the claim. Okay, it's checking for a start button that's not normally present. Yeah, has launched it, obtained the claim wait timer, and is now showing 4 hours 34 minutes until it's full. It's now going to sit there and wait for that 275 minutes until it's time to go back and make a claim. Now, if we press Ctrl A and D simultaneously, it's going to take us back to our Ubuntu session and out of screen. If we look back to our quick start files, and here we can see screen -R first session, we can copy and paste that, come back in, and there we are. That session is still sat there waiting. Control A and D takes us back to Ubuntu. One of the great things about this script is that because my wife also has an account, we can continue and set up another session that's going to run side by side with the first one and put her details into that. So if we go back to our GitHub page, now we're going to copy screen -S second session. Okay, now we need to execute the Python script again, claims.py. You seem to have got that. Here we go. We're not going to bother updating the settings this time round, and our second session is going to be called session 2. Okay, it says it's saved a screenshot in folder 2. Let's grab a quick scan of that with my Telegram account. Okay, good. Let's post a different seed phrase in. And there we are. That's us set up with our second seed phrase. On this occasion, we're going to enter no and resume shortly in PM2. Before we set up PM2, let's do one more little job. So if we go Control, Alt and Delete, and then we resume the first session, we can see that this is still running away in the background on screen. So we will Control and C that, and then Control A and D. and we'll go get the quick start commands for PM2. So now we have two different sessions set up and we stopped them both. We've scrolled down in GitHub to the use of PM2 and I've copied and pasted this command here. It's now going to run the setup for PM2. PM2 is the process manager. It lets us easily start and stop various different processes on a Linux machine. If the machine was to crash, for example, it'll restart after the machine reboots. If the script crashes, it'll also restart the script. At the bottom of the instruction file, there's some similar commands listed that are also mentioned in the GitHub that talk about setup. If we're using this on a Linux machine, we would set it to start as systemd. For us, we want to set up our first script, session 1. So we're going to tell it PM2 process manager start the script claim.y with the name first wallet, and it's going to be our session number 1. We shall press enter there. Oops. Now if we type PM2 logs 0, because it's the ID session 0, we can see that PM2 is starting that script. Control Z will take us back out. Now if we come here to the GitHub and we copy the command to start the second wallet, PM2 start the script claim.y with the PM2 session name second wallet, and we're going to use folder number 2. Great. Now if we type PM2 logs 1, we can see that it's now starting the second wallet. We come out of the second wallet and type PM2 save. That should save our 2 active sessions. We can see PM2 list will list the sessions, and there's some further instructions if you want to delete any of your sessions. You might have noticed that I used the ID number, so PM2 logs 0. Here we can see 4 hours 10 minutes now to fill that one. However, you could also use PM2 logs first wallet and call it by the name as I did in the GitHub examples. However, what's going to be interesting now is if we close down Ubuntu, get rid of that, and then go back to our start and reopen Ubuntu. Okay, so this is a new session. If we now type PM2 list, even though we closed down Ubuntu, it looks like PM2 has stayed running in the background, and PM2 logs 0, we can see that that's still waiting to claim. So while your machine is left on and operational, it's going to be running that in the background in Ubuntu, even without having the command window open. Well, things have gone pretty well so far, and can we finish with a flourish? In our root hot wallet box folder of the Linux system, there's a new file, Windows PM2 restart, and if we look at what's in the file, it just says WSL PM2 resurrect. Now I'm hoping if we copy that into my startup folder, then that's going to start PM2 when Windows starts. So to bring up the startup folder, I pressed the Windows and the R key, and then I typed shell.startup and pressed enter. That's brought up that folder. I'm going to copy and paste Windows PM2 restart batch into there. Now let's see what happens when I reboot the machine. So I just rebooted my machine. I've opened the Ubuntu command line, and if we type PM2 list, we can see that not only has PM2 restarted, but it's got both of our wallets there in the background. Unfortunately, it looks like the here wallet site has just gone down. So if we type PM2 log 0, we can see that it's struggling to get the claim timer. However, if we go into screenshots and pick a wallet, Click on the launch icon perhaps, or maybe the next one. We can see that these screenshots have been created with the current timestamp, even though the page is blank, and that's blank for everyone until they get back up. It may have taken 20 minutes, but today we've downloaded Linux for Windows, configured WSL, and we've got the script running even as a background process using PM2 and restarting after the machine reboots. If you've been able to follow along, let us know in the comments down below. If you've liked today's video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget to head over to GitHub and star me there to help with their algorithm. Until we see you in another episode, take care and happy cryptoing.